Howdy, y'all. Got the cleaner out here today. We're doing a little cleaning. We got to get some things ready to install in this top cover so we can get it done. But before we do that, Dad's weeding out all the parts right here that I need to get over in the sandblaster to get them cleaned up. We're going to have to make some gaskets for these as well. And before I get to those parts, I've got a few of these top covers and plates that go on the transmission housing and up on top. These go over the brakes, brake adjustment, brake pedals. I'm going to hit those with the little sandblaster. Next, I'm going to work on all these little parts for the clutch mechanisms and the clutch levers and those little bitty springs over there. I had to peel off some of this. I got to where I couldn't even see what I was doing in there. But it's going quite well. We've got all these cleaned up, ready for some rattle can primer. We're going to do that a little later today when I get done sandblasting over there. And that way it'll just protect them from flash rusting until we can mix up a bigger batch of yellow paint. And these are the parts fresh out of the sandblaster. They need a little bit of a cleaning, degreasing, and they're ready for some primer. Over here we've sandblasted and got a coat of primer on all these components. And these are the cover pieces that are going to have to go in when we put the cover on. Here we are again. More rain, more lightning and thunder. 5:30 in the morning. This is an afternoon thing in Colorado. This isn't normal. In a previous video, I had said to tighten these up, tighten the bolt, back them off a turn and a quarter. I wanted to correct that's supposed to be a turn and a half, and then lock them down. And because we're kind of perfectionists with this stuff, we're going to go ahead and throw some paint on here. Cleaner's going to do the honors.
Okay, that's good for now.
We're going to go ahead and pick up the top cover. It's had a couple of days to cure good. And take it over here and work on it. Good, straight back. Alright, I can see, I can still turn my neck. I can't. I know. It's like Christmas every time we come out here. Okay, let's start getting this thing together. Dad's getting the crane out. We're getting ready to pick this up. I just cleaned up this mating surface here. I'm going to chase all of these threaded holes in here so we can get that nice and cleaned up, and then I'll wipe everything down so it's degreased.
All right, so what goes in there?
Everything. So we were just having a debate whether there was a gasket between these two, and I looked at my old videos and I can't really tell. I know that there's the one cork one that seals off the transmission, and I'm going to make one for that. But I'm not entirely sure that there wasn't a gasket between these two parts, but I don't want to put that in there and have issues when we bolt up the engine and not having the bolt holes line up. So we need to double check and make sure what exactly this had, a gasket on it or not. Hey cleaner, what are you doing?
Well, we'll get some color on these so we can get all of our steering clutch mechanism, the gear shift and all that on our top cover. We got a little ahead of ourselves, so yep. We've got to get a few gaskets and things before we're ready to do that.
I need to look and see if I can find something to use for a bump stop in here, and then also something that's like a urethane to protect it from the weather. But I was thinking like a rubber cork. We're going to go to town later today, and I'll see if they've got anything at the local hardware store. Right now I'm just chasing all these bolts in this housing cover, and I'm going to chase these other ones here for the transmission linkage, and I'm making sure they all start by hand before I put any power to them. The cleaner's the painter today, and he's got a few of these parts painted, and he's working on hanging up another one. We're getting everything ready to go onto the top cover, and I'm working right now on some gaskets for this shifter knob for the transmission. And there's a little discrepancy with what was on this machine and what the parts book shows that we're supposed to have. Now it's showing one gasket right there that'll go in between the flange that holds that knob on the bottom of the shifter lever. That's the only other one, except for there's one up above here that's kind of a dust dirt shield. That was a bakelite piece that we're not going to be able to get. I'm going to have to find something for. When we took this apart, there was a gasket on here, right here between one of these. Then there was nothing between here and here, which in the book, it's showing there's supposed to be a gasket here between the two, and then that ball will sit inside of that cup, and it lubricates from the transmission from Splash from the gear set. And there was no gasket on the bottom side of this where it attaches to the transmission. So I'm going to make 3 gaskets, all the same size. One to go on the bottom of this where it attaches to the transmission, one to go to the top of this where these attach, and one to go in between where that attaches. I'm just going to make 3 of these right here real quick. Going to make a gasket for this too. This is another one that didn't originally have a gasket, but it'll help keep a lot of the dirt and debris and water from getting into the transmission compartment or rusting the internal components of this. So that's done. And there it is, ready to go. And this is not a precision part by no means. This gasket does not matter that much. All it's going to do is keep dust and water from getting into here. We'll get the wild High Plains Panther out here inspecting our work. Found these rubber stoppers at the hardware store in town, and those will fit right in there nice and perfect. And they should give us just about the same amount of relief out that the old ones had, which is about 1/4 of an inch. Should work perfectly. I'm going to throw a little super glue on them and just kind of stick them in there and let them set. They almost snug fit in there as it is, but this way it'll keep them in there. Cleaner's over here doing what he does best. What are you doing, Cleaner?
Cleaning up bolts. I've got a whole tray full of top cover bolts I got to clean up on the wire wheel here.
And some of those were pretty bad.
Then we'll maybe be ready for assembly.
And we'll put new lock washers, so don't worry about those.
Thank goodness.
I'm going to give everything in the brake compartment a final inspection. Everything looks good. Making sure that those springs are connected to the inside so that they're lined up straight with where they connect here in the casting. Everything looks good. Now I'm going to put on these covers. And we didn't go nuts on the paint on these. They got a coat of primer and just one light coat of paint just to keep them from rusting. And if you haven't figured it out yet, I'm really big on the dry sarcasm, and it just drives my dad absolutely nuts. I'm trying to work out something to act as a gasket here, and these are for the main clutch levers. So this plate goes on here, and it would ride like this. And inside of here, they had a gasket. And that gasket looked something like this, only it went all the way around, and it kept it up above this surface here, so that it could have kind of a frictionless, and this is spring loaded on here, it would have a frictionless surface to pivot on there, and it would also act as a rain guard and keep the dust out. The steering clutch lever would come up out of this and through this right here, and there's a pin that would compress this spring and keep tension on it so that this stayed there. And we really kind of racked our brains about what to use that would work kind of as a frictionless surface in here. Dad's making gaskets over here. These are cork. It's an 1/8 inch thick. It's probably a little thicker than we need, but they'll be fine. These are going to go on the back plates right here where the brake inspections are. And we want to get these done before we put another coat of paint over everything once we get the top cover installed. That way it'll seal everything up nice. We shouldn't have to get back in here either. Please don't let that be foreshadowing. Just took the tape off of here, and there was quite a bit of flash rusting actually. We had this sitting on a pallet, and I think that the pallet absorbed some moisture and it kind of leached up into the metal, but I polished it back up. I'm going to put some cork in here first. I'm going to throw some silicone in there kind of to hold it, so it'll hold on to it when we set this on. Dad's got a gasket on here and got one of these covers on. He's making the gasket for the other one right now. I'm almost embarrassed to put this on camera because of what it looks like right now. But I just installed the cork inside of that seam here on the top cover. And I bought a little extra of the cork that we sealed the third member housing with. And it fits pretty good in that groove. We had to trim the bottom section a little bit because it was a little bit too thick. We just took an X-Acto and took about a 1/16 of an inch off. And of course I had to put it in pieces. I have some pieces that I know I need to put a little silicone on when we go together. But I just wanted to get that in there and get it cured so it'll hold. We're going to put in our shifter rails right now. Alright, that looks pretty good, yeah?
Yeah. See there? Just like that. There you be.
Alright. They were all lined up, if I remember, when we took it apart.
It doesn't matter. So, there we are.
Alright, let me get some Loctite. Let's put it together. And these bolts have the fold-over locks. These locks are fine. We're going to go ahead and reuse them. And I'm going to throw a little bit of blue Loctite on there, just for good measure. I like that our parts piles are starting to disappear a little bit.
I can't wait to get into that and that pile over there and start.
You may regret saying that.
Well, that's my biggest worry now. And that pony motor.
That one didn't want to start good. I'm going to torque all these to 35. And because we're paranoid, I'm going to spray a little pre-lube on some of these gears in here and kind of work things around a little bit just to put our minds at ease. The cleaner's cleaning off the new lock washers so they don't have any oil on them, and they'll take a little bit of paint. I'm going to start putting all the back of this top cover together, all the linkage going to the steering clutches. And to do so, I've got the plate that holds all this in. Now, we left the old races in here. They weren't too terrible. I'm going to take the old bearings, I got 2 of them that aren't too bad, and pack them with some lubriplate and put them in there. Get this one packed. There we go. So those are our bottom 2 bearings. The top 2 are a little different. But I'm going to go ahead and pack those real quick. They're a replacement part number. They're a 1B3756. And to use these new bearings, they have to have a thinner race than what originally was in these. So these bearings will not work in these new races. You can see it's just a very thin, kind of a spring race that just basically friction fits in there. And it's as easy as that. And I'm going to go ahead and pack these with some grease as well. These ones can be accessed from the top later on, once the top cover's on. Cat did still have these. And I think the part number on these updated about 3 or 4 times when I called them. I'm assuming that the change to these was simply because these other races were pretty tough to get out of there. And you probably saw on one of our last videos, Dad had to get out his torch to get it out. And these parts are directional. They're a 3B292. And they go like this. This socket right here goes towards the front of the machine. And that bearing will actually seat in there a little better after we get the tape pulled off the top cover later on. And when we assemble that rod that goes into this socket, we're going to put a little never seize in there to lubricate it with. Anti-seize, I don't know. Whatever it's called. I got new lock washers on these bolts. I'm going to put a little Loctite on them all, just for a good measure. And then I'm going to torque them to 80 foot-pounds. So that's the lubricated half-inch bolt torque. The rascals keep turning on me. There it goes. Those are installed. We're going to put our steering linkage up through here. This is the early version. The later versions have a spring assist in here. These ones rely solely on the springs in the clutch packs for return. Now I'll just feed this up through the housing here. This attaches here. Got our pin with the bushing on it. You can see that right there. And that pin just inserts in there like so. Put our washer on top. And then I'll stick the cotter key in through the top of the pin. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'm not afraid to show my mistakes. And I made a mistake here. And that's why we test fit these things. So the process to install it is the same. But these have a slight bend in it right there. And that little bend will help it keep from rubbing right there. So these do matter what side that you put them on. That little bend gives it just enough extra clearance. And something to note that we thought was interesting, this part is OD green. So I don't know if this was a military part or a part off of a military machine that got put in here at some point. But it definitely was not cat yellow. We got everything in here. Works a lot better. Everything's clears. Everything's out of the way. Everything's ready to go. And I'm reluctantly ready to remove these vice grips and our contraption on here and get ready to put this top cover onto Lefty's carcass. We're looking good. This basically just keeps the water out because the transmission seals itself. The rear end's already sealed.
Let's get, you got it, control of it?
Yeah.
I'm coming ahead. I'm shooting off for some reason.
Wait a minute. The pedals are going to be a problem.
They won't be hard to take off.
Let's pull them off. Let's not even think about it.
They won't be hard. We just put them on.
We need to go up.
Up?
Yeah.
We're clearing.
All right.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Now I'm too far.
There.
How's that?
That looks pretty good.
How's that? A little more?
Yeah.
Let's stop there. Is everything else clearing? We're going to...
Oh, yeah. Now we need to let it down.
Well, here. Oh, where's one that's...
Put tension on here.
Let's do that one there.
Going to torque these all the top cover bolts. I think we finally got everything in here and got it set where we're happy. Our gasket kind of gave us a fit for a little while, but we're going to go ahead and torque it down. I think we're good. And I'm going to torque it to about 100 foot-pounds. We just got the pedals back on. We're going to go ahead and adjust them now that we have the stops.
Let's try that. Oh yeah, there we go.
What do you got?
Exactly. Tighten it up a hair more. You went a little far.
Too far?
I got a little over 4 inches.
Okay.
A little more. Tighter. There we go.
All right, let me go to my next peg in the stop here, right there. How's that?
I got about 3 3/4. That's fine for now.
Okay.
That's pretty good.
Okay. Let me go to my next notch right there.
That's 3.5, 3 3/4. Well, they'll have to wear in. We'll have to reset them.
Okay. Here's those bearings I was talking about earlier. And the cotter keys I was talking about earlier. Little better view. Everything's in. Our steering clutches still need adjusted, but I did put a little never sees in those pockets in there. And we got to hook up our handles and stuff next. What do you think, buddy? You all going to help us out here? You want to go to work? Well, that was a really good day. We got a lot done. We got our brakes adjusted, we got the top cover on, we got the linkage back there hooked up, our gaskets are in. We're ready to keep rocking and rolling on this. But I'm tired, I know Dad's tired, and I know I get tired the further in the day, the more tired I get, the further up the hat goes. So I think I'm about maxed out on tired. I do want to thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you on the next one.
Do you have the air on?
I always have the air on. I'm right here.
Oh, yes. Okay. The A-I-R-O-N.
Yes.
Thank you.
I turned the air on.